Hi, Otis. Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to PDINA Royally Teachable Moments. Hope you're doing well today. This is going to be a really short video only because it's going to be part one to some more follow-up. Several years ago, someone had reached out to me about doing a story about a little girl named KeKe. This young girl was the inspiration for Prince Harry to start the charity sent to Bali. He was, I believe, 19 years old at the time. It was back in 2004. And he went to visit this charity. And he was so inspired by the stories of the people at this charity that this is why he started Sent to Bali. Otis, no, look at. And I must first say that this video is a little sensitive and a little graphic. So please use caution when watching this, because I'll be referencing some things that are not going to be easy to hear. But the reason why I'm doing this story was because of that. Otis, please. He likes this lotion that I have on. So someone reached out to me about this story, and I didn't know anything about it. Of course, it was when I first started my channel. I didn't really know much about Harry so much at the time, but from some research that I'm doing, I'm slowly starting to put together this story about this little girl that inspired his charity Sent to Bali. Now, we know that Princess Diana, she worked closely with charities and people in Africa because she wanted to help get rid of the stigma around people who were HIV, AIDS positive, and he wanted to carry his mother's legacy on. Prince Harry did. And so in combination with, continuing his mother's legacy and being moved by the stories of the people in this country in South Africa, he started Sent to Bali. But there was one particular girl that really moved him, and her name was KeKe. She was a little baby, and I'm going to just give you a little bit of this story and continue it on later so that we can really understand what is happening, because there's a lot going on, but not a lot of information out there. I've been researching. So if you have any information about this story that I may not have as I start to talk about this, please reach out to me and let me know. So it was the moment that inspired Harry to follow in his mother's footsteps and to help Africa's forgotten AIDS victims. And that is the key point here, forgotten AIDS victims. He was cradling this little 10-month-old girl in his arms. Her name was KeKe, and he was moved to tears. And anybody would be holding this little girl after understanding what happened to her. Okay, so this is the part that's really hard to hear. But the little girl, 10 months old, she was actually AR'd by her stepfather. Okay, 10 months old. And he believed that a witch doctor's myth, he believed what a witch doctor told him, that if you have sex with a virgin, it can cure AIDS. Or at the time, it could cure him of HIV. Okay, so I'm reading the story. It's in the Daily Mail. This story was actually done back in 2009. Now, Harry did at the time a TV documentary, and he had his first encounter with the girl 5 years ago during the time of the documentary. And he, he really wanted to help this little girl. He was holding her in his arms. She couldn't move. She had no expression. There was no laughing, no crying. She just was like a zombie. She just laid there in his arms. And Harry said at the time, quote, "Nothing at all. It almost seemed as though she knew what happened." So at the time, the prince was more renowned for his nightclub antics. He was doing a lot of things in the press and just really cutting up a lot. His family, the royal family, was really concerned about him. They thought maybe going to Africa, doing some charity work, really having some meaningful encounters would help him curb this out of control lifestyle that he was living. He decided to set up this charity to help young children of Lesotho, one of the poorest kingdoms of Africa. After visiting this charity, this is what he decided to do. Now, he named the charity, we know, Xpatty, meaning forget me not, meaning not forgetting of these children who were the forgotten children of HIV/AIDS victims. So he also vowed to support KeKe in her growing up. He vowed that he would help her with everything, with her education. So 5 years after this a very emotional first meeting, the Daily Mail actually, at the time, they tracked down this little girl that they say stole Prince Harry's heart. Really, he was so moved. Who wouldn't be holding this innocent child in your arms and really understanding what had happened to her? It is so sickening and disgusting what can happen to little children over some stupid idea that doing something horrible like this would get rid of your HIV. It just, the mindset, the thinking is beyond comprehension. It really is. So 5 years after this very emotional first meeting that Harry had, sadly, there is a tragic story that they discovered. And it's far from a happy ending. You would think after meeting a prince who has vowed to help you with everything in your growing up and with your education and to really support you, you would think that this prince would continue this honor that he wanted to give to this young girl. So KeKe was then taken to live with her grandmother deep in Lesotho mountains, a treacherous 11-hour journey far away from the capital of Masuru by bus and on foot. Now she is being raised there with 3 of her siblings on her grandmother's pension of 82 pence a day. Her 72-year-old grandmother claims that promises by Xpatty staff to provide food and supplies have not been kept, and that there is not enough money for even basic essentials such as a bar of soap. That means that when KeKe does go to school, she goes to school dirty. There's nothing good about this story, you would think, after having this encounter with the prince. So at school, KeKe, who is now 6 years old at the time, this was in 2009, she is now 6. She is so hungry that she even struggles to concentrate in school. So some days, however, there simply isn't enough food to give. Some days you just go without eating. We often go hungry because my neighbors cannot support me all the time, she explained. I feel so helpless and I don't know what to do. This is what the grandmother has said. So why do the children have to suffer? Some days I wish I could just die because I would not have to watch the children suffering. Every day I expect a miracle to happen. So KeKe's teacher, Mesepo, said that she's a keen learner, but sometimes we see a problem with hunger, and that is affecting her concentration and her participation in class. So the youngster's mother, who works in a factory for the capital, does send small amounts of money to her family when possible. She has appealed to Harry for help. So when he came into his daughter's life, I was sure that the prince would support her. I need him to help us now. Why can't they at least give some basic support and help basic help to a little girl when you're a millionaire, when you can have a charity event, which Harry did, we know, before he left to move to California. He had an event for Bali. There were no follow-up stories about any support they may have given to this little girl and her family. But the person that wrote this story is Rebecca English. I actually reached out to her. I emailed her trying to get some more information about this story. I have not heard back from her. Now, there's been a lot of talk online about this story. A lot of people are saying that, you know, there's only so much a charity can do. There was mismanagement of the money of the charity that was helping her. There's a lot of things that go into running a charity, and there can be mismanagement of funds. You have someone go in and you kind of investigate what's going on, but you know, you can just say these things, but is it true? Why have they not tried to give support to this young girl moving forward? Clearly, they are trying to have Harry own up to his promises. I don't know if this little girl was invited to the wedding of Harry and Meghan. There's not much information out there. There's a lot of talk about it. I think that this story needs to be revisited only because Harry is trying to go back now to Africa to continue a documentary with Netflix. I don't know if he really even cares anymore. I don't know if he wants to have anything to do with this little girl anymore, but I wanted to bring this story to your attention and to let you know that as it appears now, Harry has not made any kind of outreach to the little girl. I think he's washed his hands of the story. He has allowed his charity to take over. But I think if your charity was founded on a little girl who was clearly abused, you were clearly touched and moved by this little girl and her story, why would you do exactly what you're naming your charity after, which is Forget Me Not, meaning Bali in the native language of this area? Why would you forget this little girl? Why would you not follow up on a story of a little girl that moved you so much? And as we see, Harry is living his life alongside his celebrity obsessed wife and doing things that are completely meaningless, and not really doing things that continue, for one, his mother's legacy, and two, the whole idea that he started this charity because of this little girl. He has forgotten her. And once again, the children are the forgotten children in Africa because of the abandonment of these children, because of their AIDS status, and because their parents may have died from AIDS, both of their parents or one of their parents. And now Harry, I believe, in my opinion, is that he has once again forgotten this little girl who had touched him. I am so disturbed by this story. To me, it's so disturbing and unconscionable that people would be so cold-hearted. And I think sometimes when you come from a lot of wealth, you get so consumed with how great your life is, you can forget about the people who don't have 1 cent of what you have. They have literally nothing. I just think Harry is on a path now that is really leading to a place of harm for himself mentally, because clearly he wanted to do good. He clearly wanted to do something to make a difference. He's far removed from that now. Now, maybe he is doing something now. They say he is in Africa. He is doing a documentary. He is doing something to support his charity. Maybe he is revisiting this story about KeKe. I don't know, but we will see when it comes out, if it comes out. And so I just wanted to leave you all with this story. I'm going to continue following it and seeing if more information comes out about the well-being of this little girl, KeKe. I'm sure the grandmother of the little girl, KeKe, may not be even alive at the time of this story. She was 72 years old. KeKe is in her, teenage years by now. So it is worth revisiting and understanding, how is Harry going to continue his own legacy now that he has met this woman, Meghan Markle, who has taken him away from a life that he thought was doing something good. Will he continue to try to do good? So far from what I can see, no, he has not. And we'll have to wait and see what comes next. And let us not forget the little girl KeKe, who was inspired to help Harry create the charity Sent to Bali, meaning Forget Me Not. Let us not too forget her.